Negotiations between Israel and Hamas are progressing towards a potential ceasefire deal. In the first phase, 33 hostages are expected to be released, offering a glimmer of hope for the resolution of the 15-month war. Talks in Doha, led by Qatar and Egypt, have made significant strides, though the deal has not yet been finalised. Both sides are working towards a 42-day ceasefire, with Israel preparing for an immediate implementation once an agreement is reached. US President Joe Biden has expressed optimism, emphasising the humanitarian benefits of the deal. There's cautious hope that this will lead to further phases of negotiations, potentially freeing additional hostages and bringing an end to the devastating conflict. We're first joined by our correspondent, Aditya Wadwan. Aditya, thank you. We're looking at the US and US officials saying that a deal is on the brink and potentially within a week. Could you provide some more context on that for us?
Well, Josh, as it is very evident that, US President Donald Trump had said that he had vowed actually that if all the Israeli hostages are not released till the time he takes the oath as president, all hell will break loose. And he had given assurances that he will definitely end this Israel-Gaza, war between Israel and Hamas and Russia and Ukraine. So that is in line with them. Basically today also the Qatar has mediated. Qatar and Egypt had also mediated, and Qatar has also offered to mediate between to further accelerate the process of ceasefire between the two sides. As per the ceasefire deal, in the first phase, 33 captives have to be released. That include women, small children, handicapped people. Those Israel army has been claiming that they might be dead or they might have been alive. So as per the Qatar's intervention, this entire process of ceasefire will happen in a staged process. In the first phase, 33 prisoners are yet to be Israeli captives are yet to be should be released by Hamas. Yes, George, back to you in the studio.
Thank you, Aditya. We are now joined by Joyita Basu, editor of the Sunday Guardian, here in the studio. Joyita, we're looking at potentially an end to fighting for 42 days, giving relief to those living in Gaza. We're also looking at the return of 33 hostages. Is this a win-win for both sides in your eyes?
Well, I don't think as yet, because you see, when you are looking at the deal that they have struck, Hamas is talking in terms of 5 hostages for 50 prisoners to be released by Israel. So basically, if you are looking at 33, and if it comes to, you multiply that with 50, they are looking at 1500 to be released. And if you have looked back in terms of history, what has happened for the release of one soldier, Israel had released 1000 Palestinian Hamas people and all some time back. I don't remember exactly the year, and that has not really played out well for Israel later in terms of how these terrorist groups grew and all. But having said that, I think the people of Israel, there is push coming from, I think, within not so much his government, because there are these far right ministers who are threatening to resign if there is there is some kind of a ceasefire. But I think people are tiring, the soldiers are tiring, they need some kind. I think Israel has lost around 800 plus soldiers, almost 900 soldiers. And so you see, there is some dissent happening in the military in terms of, they are talking about at least 100 soldiers have said that they do not want to participate in the war. So basically for Israel also, this is going to be some sort of a tactical break, as the similar tactical break that they have taken in Lebanon as well. So for Hamas, well, nothing much is left of the Hamas in 42, but the only good thing is that in 42 days they cannot regroup. So in a way you can call it a win-win for both sides, but I don't think 42 days is enough for Gaza to be rebuilt and all, because a whole lot of other things come into play, particularly what Trump brings in, this new Middle East envoy that he has selected. So if the aim is to right now create some kind of an island of peace inside of Gaza, well, I don't think it's happening in 42 days, but at least it's some kind of a start.
Joyita Basu, thank you very much for joining us. We're also joined by Professor Ephraim Inbar, who is the president of the Jerusalem Institute for Strategy and Security. I want to pick up on a point that Joyita made there, looking specifically at the feeling within Israel. Is there fatigue from this war? Is there a want from the people to bring the hostages back above any of the other Israeli military aims? And can you just provide some context for our audience?
Well, in Israel, of course, everybody supports the goal of the war, which is to remove Hamas from power in Gaza. But at the same time, people would like to see the hostages who are living in horrible conditions in the tunnels of Hamas, to see them back. Those are conflicting aims, because the release of hostages is dependent, according to Hamas' view, on a stoppage to the war, and making Israel unsuccessful in reaching its goal of removing Hamas from power. So this is a dilemma. Many people are willing to see the hostages back at any price, including putting a stop to the war, while others are against it. You also have to remember that the hostages deals that is being worked out includes also the release of Hamas terrorists in Israeli jail, which will continue to do what they've done in the past, killing Israelis. So this is a very cruel dilemma, and this is what the Israeli government must decide upon.
We're also joined by Yahya Mohammed, a former IDF spokesperson on UNIT, joining us live from Israel. Yahya Mohammed, thank you very much for being here. Looking at the potential influence of the United States, but also other nations in these talks, do you think that this is a case that the ceasefire deal will get over the line? We've been in a position before where other world leaders have said that it's close, but this time it seems to be different. What do you think that difference is? Is it coming from both sides, or is it a case that the humanitarian crisis has got so bad that a resolution and sort of diplomatic outcry on resolving the issue has sort of built up?
Thank you for having me. I think this ceasefire will go forward for a few reasons. It hasn't yet been announced, but I hope it will. The popularity of Hamas in Gaza has been in decline for the period of the war, and that pushed Hamas to actually consider and stop demanding unrealistic demands from the Israeli side. The Israeli side have been very upfront and very upfront with what Israel wants. All the Israeli people, Jews, Muslims, and Arabs, we all want our hostages to come back home as soon as possible. Hamas thinks that the Israeli public and the world has a short memory. Those people, civilians, were taken from their homes, from their beds on October 7th. And I think for those reasons, we might see a successful ceasefire deal where we see the hostages come back home. And as the professor mentioned, it comes at a very heavy price of releasing individuals who have chosen the path of violence and killing of Israelis as their sole purpose of their life. One of those people that we know very well is the late Yahya Sinwar, who have been released in such a deal and has carried out the attack of October 7th. We must break this cycle, and we will not forgive Hamas for what they have done to us.
Yeah, Mohammed, we have time for one more quick one. Is there feeling within Israel that there is some sympathy for those who are within Gaza and Palestinians who aren't affiliated with Hamas? We've had mentioned already that the popularity of Hamas is dropping. Is there any sympathy there for the tens of thousands of people that have died? And do you think that this ceasefire will be a good thing for those looking to rebuild their lives?
Absolutely, absolutely. I actually have family members in Gaza. I fight in the ranks of the IDF. I fight the terrorists that have taken over the lives of my friends and family in Gaza and have turned their lives upside down just like what they have done to my Israeli friends on October 7th. There are a lot of civilians in Gaza have not been happy with what Hamas has done. And let's not only talk about Gaza, but the entire Arab world has not been happy with what Hamas has done. I actually heard many Muslim Arabs criticizing Hamas for what they have done, knowing what Israel will do to retrieve the hostages and the Israeli civilians that were taken. I think there is a hope for peace. It's a real one right now. It will unfold within the upcoming few hours, and I think this would be crucial for both Israelis and the Gazans.
Yahya Mohammed, thank you for joining us. Also, thank you to Joy Tabasu and Ephraim Imbar.